Hi guys, this is Streamer Carlos. On today's video, I'm going to give you my rolling review of Iron Man 2. In the chronological MCU order would be after Iron Man, so after its brother. Then it would be after that I'm going to do my rolling review on the Incredible Hulk, and we will go from there. So here we go, guys. I love this movie because again we deal with Tony deals with something from his past. To be more specific, his father's past. Ivan Vankoff, the son of a scientist that used to work for Stark Industries, but apparently back in the day in the 1960s, right around when Mr. Stark, Tony's father, was basically building the empire of Stark Industries. But Ivan Vankoff's father and him had a falling out. And ever since, Ivan's father and him have been in exile in Russia until the moment where Tony announces in this press conference that he's Iron Man, and tragically for Ivan Vankoff, who's played by Mickey Rourke, his father dies, but before Ivan's father dies, his father makes him promise that he will get his payback or revenge for him on Tony Stark, and to be more specific, on Robert Stark, meaning Tony's father. So it begins. So here we go, guys. So basically, the movie starts off with Tony flying into the Stark Industries Expo. It's like Tony Stark, like just the Stark Industries version of D23. But Tony has been hiding a big secret from Pepper Potts and everyone around him. That the thing that is keeping him alive, meaning the reactor that was installed by Ching Sing in the first movie, has been failing, and ever since his body has been rejecting the element of the reactor, and that element is palladium. And ever since Tony has been hiding the secret that he has palladium poisoning, a high percentage of palladium in his blood. But there's another thing. Besides Ivan Vankoff seeking revenge for his father, a new rival comes into town for Stark Industries, and that is Hammer Industries, or created by or made by or the Hammer Industries, which is the competition company of Stark Industries, led by Justin Hammer. And trust me, he does not have a he does not have a hammer. He's a nerd. He's the type of nerd that I would consider myself, but he's an evil nerd, and here's why. Justin Hammer is filled with greed and pure and the type of and kind of a funny type jealousy over the fact that Tony and Stark Industries are beating the holy nacho out of Hammer Industries and their military units until Tony announces that he's Iron Man, and Gary Shanley, a senator of the government, is hiding a big secret. Although we don't get any inclination that Gary Shanley's character, the congressman that he plays, is a Hydra agent. But anyway, Gary Shanley's character, meaning the congressman, sides with Hammer Industries and Justin Hammer until Tony basically hacks into the TV, into the flat screen TV monitor that the Congress is watching evidence, watching evidence from getting details of this Iron Man suit, and obviously this is a special committee formed to find out if Tony is developing any more Iron Man suits for himself, and not only for the government, but mostly for himself. So Gary Shanley's character, meaning the whole Congress of the government, calls James Colonel Rhodey James Rhodes to testify against his best friend, who's played by Don Cheadle. And guys, don't ask me why they switched Terrence Howard for Don Cheadle to play James Rhodey Rhodes, but I don't know why they did that. But anyway, Rhodey doesn't want to testify. He has to oblige and be compliant with the committee's subpoenaed, and obviously Gary Shanley's congressman character is out for Tony's head. But again, somehow Tony hacks the flat screen monitor that is basically showing evidence that he's actually has been building some new Iron Man suits, and he is able to to basically switch to switch to basically shut the flat screen monitor and get rid of the evidence that is basically implicating that he's building that he has been building new Iron Man suits for himself in secret and not for the government and not for the government. But Tony is able to take the evidence that is basically incriminating him and basically turns the tables on Hammer Industries. And basically he basically switches the concentration of every reporter and the entire Congress and the entire Congress to very, very sensitive videos of Hammer Industries new technological battle robots that have major defects. So after showing this, Justin Hammer, who's played by the great Sam Rockwell, he disconnects the TV flat screen TV monitor, and basically he is basically out for revenge. Again, he basically says, without saying a word at all, I'm going to get my revenge on you for humiliating me in front of the nation, the nation and Congress, Tony. And how does he do that? By conceding, or by finding information on Ivan Vankov, and Justin finds that again, that Tony's father, that Robert Stark and Ivan's father had a past together, and that Ivan is out for revenge for his father, for the humiliation of his father back in the day. So this is the perfect opportunity for Justin to get his piece of his revenge single pie, and also including a different type, a secondary piece of cold nacho pie for Ivan Vankov. And Tony encounters Ivan, who is now calling himself Whiplash. In the comments, Ivan Vankov is Whiplash. He calls himself Whiplash. But in this case, Tony's first encounter with Ivan is in one of the greatest F1 circuits, F1 calendar tracks of all time, and it's a part of the Triple Crown. Of course, I'm talking about Monaco, the Monaco Grand Prix. So at the Monaco Grand Prix, like every year, and I'm pretty sure this happens outside the movie too. Before like on the weekend of the Monaco Grand Prix. There's support races, but there's a support race where old vintage cars, old vintage F1 cars race race in the streets of Monaco. So Tony, Pepper, and Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, who's posing, who is pretending, who is undercover as Pepper's secretary, 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 go to Monaco. But being the showman that Tony is, he basically commandeers a classic oldie F1 car to race in the classic F1 car Monaco Grand Prix. And not only that, he steals the spotlight from, guess who? Justin Hammer. When Justin is being interviewed by an interviewer and by a reporter. And as soon as Tony commandeers this oldie F1 car, the reporter's attention turns to Tony instead of Justin. So the race begins. Tony's passing the cars in front of him until Ivan, who's dressed up as a safety worker, or in F1 terms, a track marshal, basically uncovers his lightning whips and his own modified reactor that just like Tony is attached to his chest. And chaos ensues. Happy, who's played by Jon Favreau, who's Tony's bodyguard and right-hand bodyguard, and Pepper Potts basically have a spare Iron Man suit for Tony, but it's in a suitcase. So poor Happy and of course terrified Pepper have to drive the backwards way of the track of the Monaco Grand Prix, and they're driving in the opposite way, so they have to dodge. So Happy has to dodge the incoming cars, which are inactive in the Grand Prix. And again, Ivan basically uncovers himself, and he has lightning whips, and a chest reactor, modified reactor, attached to his chest, just like Tony, almost like Tony. And luckily for Tony, or luckily for everyone, including the Monegasque, meaning the people of Monaco, Tony is able to kind of stop Ivan from causing any more damage to the shack and to himself and to her. So Ivan is arrested by the Monegasque authorities, and obviously Tony is furious, and he wants to see the man that almost killed him, by just lightning whipping his commandeering F1 car in half, like a, a, a piece of ham or meat. So Ivan is in in jail in Monaco, and obviously Tony is furious about this man. He wants to punch him in the face. Then basically Ivan has a very, very tense conversation with Tony, and then Tony says, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And then Ivan, to paraphrase it, he says, "I'm here to get my revenge on your father and you. Because my father used to work for your father back in the day, but they had a falling out. their working relationship collapsed. And because of your father, my dad took his final breath. And again, to top it all off, besides Ivan / Whiplash, Tony's dealing with palladium poisoning in his blood. And to top it up, and to make matters funny worse is the fact that Nick Fury has been keeping an eye on Tony and is trying to contact him to sign the Avengers Initiative, which is the document, which is the documentation that officially begins, or that officially, if you sign this documentation, you have signed to be an Avenger. So after that, Nick Fury sees Tony and sees that he's erratic and that he's basically crazy, kind of a little bit crazy. Nick says, "Nope, you're not going to be a part of the Avengers Initiative." But at this time, the palladium poisoning that Tony had in his blood was getting worse. So Nick and Agent Coulson uncovered in the Shield archives. Some old film from the 1960s, where you see Robert Stark basically doing a hype video for the Stark Stark Industries Expo of 1964. You can check me on that, guys. And and within this film, Tony finds the element, his new element that is that his new element for his reactor. So basically, Tony, out of this film of his father, he was able to find the element that would the new element that would replace the old reactor energy, and that would stop the poisoning of his blood with palladium. At this same time, Rhodey and Tony had not been speaking because Tony, for his big birthday bash, got drunk, got way too drunk. Meanwhile, Rhodey told Pepper, I stuck out my neck for Tony when he was in this special investigation from Congress. I defended him. I took a bullet for him. I took a bullet for him. And this is how he repays me, by acting like a child. So ever since then, Rhodey and Tony had not spoken to each other since then. And at this time, Ivan was working with Justin, with Hammer, but obviously Ivan got cocky and got MCU greedy, and he took over Justin. Took over the armed forces unit of the robots that he was building for Hammer. But what Justin did not consider is that Ivan is able to take control of whatever he wants. That includes everything that I just said. So, what did Ivan do? Got greedy, and I mean got greedy in a good way, but for Hammer it was bad, because at this time he did not have any more control of Ivan, and Ivan was his own man per se, and Natasha Pepper were getting suspicious. We're getting suspicious. We're getting suspicious of Justin's of Justin's Justin's behavior around Ivan, and they were not wrong because secretly, Justin had been hiding Ivan for days in his factory, in the Industries factory, but Ivan did not care anymore. So Ivan took so so I so so Ivan took control of the robots that he had built for Justin, and then all hell broke loose, and of course the hammer robots were acting later were acting accordingly, but they had a flaw, which in Tony and Stark Industries they don't have anything wrong in the research and developing new stuff to use. And of course Justin was incredulous by this fact, but not really, because he was trying to hide that his accomplice Ivan Vankov and him were the same person. So in a twist of fate, Rhodey forgave Tony. Meanwhile, around the expo, all the crazy hammer robots were being controlled by Ivan, and they were hunting down Iron Man and War Machine until Tony came up with a good idea. Just like in his birthday party, when he was drunk, when he got drunk, he basically got into his Iron Man suit, and him and War Machine got into a blaster face off. So Hammer's robots were going crazy, and they were going crazy because they were now under the guidance of Ivan. But Natasha was able to locate Hammer Industries location, and she was able to disable some of Hammer's robots, but not all of them. Not a big chunk of them. So what did Hammer's robots do under the control of Ivan? Well, they basically self-destructed but one robot that was down was about to self destruct near Pepper, and luckily Tony was able to save Pepper before her stalking robot was able to identify. But anyway, so Ivan in his new suit that looks just like Hammer's Hammer's robots. Tony and Rhodey knew that they had to do something, and that something was to basically somehow get Ivan Ivan in the middle of the between the two of them, and basically do a blasting and basically do a blasting high five, and that's what they did. And with that, Ivan died. Ivan tragically became cold Russian ice cream, and in the post-credit scene, we see Nick Fury, director Fury, basically say to Tony, "You're too crazy for the Avengers initiative." And then Tony was like, "Okay, you will see. I can be better. I can shut down this very quickly." And with that being said, guys, with that is the end of Iron Man 2. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments if you want to what was your favorite part of the movie, and would you have your best friends back if he was being questioned by the government, to be more specific, by Gary Shanley's congressman character in the movie. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching, and again, remember to leave a like, and until we hero again, bye.